The scandal engulfing the Attorney General's office just exploded. Accusations of a false affidavit and evidence destruction, like the missing phone, suggest a criminal enterprise is protecting the status quo. The Supreme Court ruled, but the fight for external supervision is not over. The core of the dispute is the failure of the legal system, specifically Attorney General Gali Baharav-Miara and her office, to honestly address the leak of a fake video from the Sde Teiman detention facility, as well as, of course, that it was created in the first place, which caused so much harm to Israel. Justice Minister Yariv Levin and Knesset member Moshe Saada show that the Attorney General's complicity and obstruction of justice are a part of this. Former military advocate general Yifat Tomer Yerushalmi is accused of submitting a false affidavit to the Supreme Court. Critics compared this to the notorious 1980s Bus 300 affair, which was the 1984 incident where Israeli General Security Service forces executed 2 captured Palestinian terrorists after they stormed an Egged bus and tried to hijack it. And this was followed by a massive cover-up that implicated senior officials. Now, the accusation is that Yifat Tomer Yerushalmi and the military prosecution sought to mislead the courts in order to conceal their actions. The Attorney General's office previously informed the Supreme Court that the internal investigation into this leak had exhausted itself and showed no indicators of a source. Since later Yerushalmi herself admitted to authorizing the leak, then obviously the Attorney General's prior notice to the Supreme Court was not truthful. The Attorney General's office was either knowingly covering up the Military Advocate General's actions or was incompetent in its supervision of the initial internal probe. Critics accused Baharav-Miara of betraying the country and alleged she is protecting this criminal enterprise of the left, of the progressive political spectrum. The fact that even the Supreme Court justices presiding over the case found it, quote, difficult to argue against the Attorney General's conflict of interest and suggested that she might be required to testify, validated the government's central argument that external supervision is required. The Attorney General's eventual recusal, driven by Justice Ministry's own legal advisor, Yael Kutik, was seen as an admission of institutional failure and a victory for the petitioners. Justice Minister Yariv Levin's decision to bypass the Attorney General and appoint retired Judge Asher Kula's supervision of the criminal investigation is an unprecedented move, viewed as necessary for democratic oversight. Kula is the current state ombudsman for judges and is the only suitable independent figure capable of restoring public faith. Kula is described as a maverick jurist who is outspoken, conservative, and unafraid, and is seen as someone from the outside of the traditional legal elite, and who holds a skeptical view of the prosecution, stemming from his background including presiding over the Zadorov retrial, where he harshly criticized the prosecution. The Zadorov trial affair is a notorious and highly controversial Israeli murder case involving the 2006 killing of 13-year-old Ta'ir Rada in a school bathroom in Katzrin, and the subsequent trials and ultimate acquittal of Ukrainian national Roman Zadorov. The case became a national obsession marked by accusations of a coerced confession, prosecutorial misconduct, police framing, and intense public and media debate over the true killer's identity. Justice Minister Yariv Levin explicitly argued that Kula's appointment would enjoy broad public trust. a critical element in a sensitive and politically charged case, precisely because he is not subordinate to any government legal authority. Levin's final statement before the Supreme Court ruling hit the nail on the head. Any ruling against Kula's appointment would be interpreted as the court enabling a cover-up of the truth and would result in irreparable loss of public trust in the justice system. On Sunday, the court's final ruling was a political and legal compromise that validated Levin's overall position on the need for external supervision while striking down his specific choice. The court's validation of the Minister of Justice's authority to appoint an external supervisor from outside the traditional prosecution chain was a crucial legal win for the government, establishing that the Attorney General's conflict of interest created an exceptional circumstance overriding institutional independence. The legal impediment, though, Kula's disqualification, was not based on a lack of integrity, but on a strict reading of the law governing the Ombudsman office, which explicitly bars him from any other positions. This is a technical difficulty that even Yariv Levin's representative, Advocate Zion Amir, by the way, it's worth noting that it is a minority of the cases that the government, the members of parliament, the members of the government are even allowed to have external representation. Usually the Attorney General herself represents the government even against the government's wishes. But in any case, Yariv Levin's advocate Zion Amir attempted to address this with workarounds. For example, that the Ombudsman would be released from his duties during the investigation, or that he would no longer hold position over the judges involved in the investigation. In any case, it's also worth noting that former Ombudsman Rivlin was not disqualified from doing similar tasks in the past. The ruling leaves the government with the task of appointing a new, senior, and independent figure who meets the High Court's strict legal criteria. Also worth noting that the High Court's criteria actually disqualify the current Attorney General Baharav-Miara. She was never a very high-level legal figure until she received this current position, and her qualifications are not good enough to meet what the High Court is now demanding. In any case, this next appointment will serve as the immediate battle between the political and legal spheres, where once again the appointee of the Justice Minister will be under scrutiny to see if he's okay for the left judicial system. In addition to all this, there's significant internal chaos and intentional mismanagement within the police investigation led by the head of investigations, Boaz Blatt, who is himself accused of being compromised. There are accusations of investigation tampering, such as the missing phone, the mystery about the former military advocate general's mobile phone being located randomly in the middle of the beach is proof of evidence destruction. The phone's loss was intended to save Gali Baharav-Miara by concealing communications that might prove coordination or knowledge. Blatt himself is compromised due to his connections to the Attorney General's office. For example, regarding the promotion of Officer Rinat Saban, Blatt's aide, whom the Minister of National Security does not wish to promote, and magically the Attorney General sent him a swarm of threatening letters to have him removed from his position, elected position as minister, if he doesn't sign her promotion. Blatt's refusal also to attend meetings with the minister, Ben Gvir, and the police commissioner, and his controversial attempt recently to brief the Supreme Court unilaterally and against the court's wishes are seen as attempts to protect the Attorney General's office and further disrupt and cover up the investigation's true findings. And I just have to say the former military advocate general, who has the charges against her have been known for over 3 weeks now, is still barely been investigated. For less than 24 hours she's been investigated. Currently she's detained in the Ichilov hospital after her third fake suicide attempt, and is left alone and unsupervised with her phone, and this serves to further reinforce the narrative that the law enforcement system is actively protecting her and allowing her to coordinate her defense and disrupt the ongoing probe. This entire affair is conclusive evidence of an institutional conflict of interest throughout the legal chain, in which Yerushalmi, Miara, and Blatt, as well as many others, acted in order to safeguard the military prosecution and preserve the status quo of their undemocratic rule of the country against political oversight. Now, I have to end this with a request for you to pray for Israel. All of this information is not a reason to abandon Israel, to say how terrible Israel is. It's a reason to pray even more. So please remember to pray for Israel, to pray for Netivyah, to pray for the soldiers guarding our borders, and shalom. God bless you all.